Delver, Pear on your right, Craig on your left. Pear just beat Rug Delver last round. See if Bargo can overcome it here. He will be on the play.
I think this is a pretty favorable matchup. I've mentioned this a couple of times. Mother Runes is very powerful. The deck's good at gumming up the ground. Basically, any time the matchup is about creature combat, Death and Taxes is going to be pretty good. Swords of Plowshares, Mother Runes, big bodies. An interesting addition to this deck that's relatively new, I'm curious to see how it's going to impact this matchup, is Burmaz. Can't be bolted. No Mongoose can't touch it. And, again, if the matchup is about creature combat, Burmaz is very powerful. So,
checking the deck list here, one card that I always look for when we do take a look at Death and Taxes deck list is Spirit of Labyrinth, and there is a couple copies here. Again, when that card came out in Born of the Gods, everyone was talking about just how insane that would be against Brainstorm and all those other cards, and that's actually something that could come up in this matchup.
For sure, and it's another 3-power blocker for Nimble Mongoose as well, so a lot to like about that card in this matchup.
So we're going to see Nystrom in action with Death and Taxes against Bargo Rug Delver, our final match of the week, and one of these two players are going to walk out of here a little bit richer. Got some open series points. Got a trophy. Sit down in the winner's interview. Should be fun. Should be fun. Didn't expect to see these two decks in the finals, but then again, in Legacy, you never really know what to expect. I suppose any Delver deck can make the finals because that seems to be what happens nowadays.
There's so many of them. That's part of the reason. I mean, you have Rug, you have Bug, and you have Blue, White, Red. So you have 3 distinct archetypes of Delver decks, and then those decks are among the most popular decks in the room at any given time, and so they make up just a huge representation.
You could argue they're the best deck, too.
And I kind of understand the appeal because the Delver decks have this mixture of I'm playing Legacy and doing some busted stuff, and I'm also kind of playing normal Magic. Some Legacy decks err on a little bit on the side, too much of the side of it feels like I'm playing a standard deck. Jund kind of has that experience of the creatures are better and the removal spells are better, but that's kind of all I'm doing here. And then some of the Legacy decks don't really resemble conventional Magic whatsoever. A deck like Ad Nauseam Tendrils is doing its own thing, or Dredge, or whatever. Delver, I think, gives you a nice mixture of that feeling of doing powerful stuff, but still playing kind of honest nuts and bolts Magic. And I think that's what a lot of players are looking for in their Legacy experience.
I see this match is sponsored by Snickers. I'm a little bit jealous.
Yeah.
Just a touch.
StarCityGames.com does not officially endorse Snickers.
I think that
again,
Snickers doesn't endorse us. I don't know which way it goes.
Again, I don't want to get another text from our lawyers.
Yeah.
So I have to clarify these things when, even though it seems like it's in good humor, I'm the one who has to talk to people.
No. Seriously, I'll take a fun size Snickers.
The legal team of Hopefling and Irwin.
Hopefling and Irwin.
Come buzzing at my door at 2 in the morning.
It's a long drive.
Yeah. So these are our 2 bottom seeds, 7th and 8th.
That's not something we really keep track of very much. Like how often do we have the bottom seeds actually play against each other, 7th versus 8th? It seems like this is like the first time I've seen this happen, just because it's the first time we've ever mentioned it during all the time we've done coverage this year of just the players who have been on the draw and all their matches have won.
And it's especially noteworthy with Rug Delver because it's so tempo-oriented. So many of the tools, Wasteland, Daze, Stifle, much more effective on the play.
Bargo going to keep. Nystrom going to take a mulligan down to at least 6 cards here.
But this is a deck that can mulligan pretty effectively here. And Mother of Runes is definitely a way to catch up. If that goes unchecked, it's worth untold number of cards out of Craig's deck. And there's a lot of Rug Delver draws that are all about 1 threat. So even the Swords to Plowshare, you give Pear a lot of breathing space. So not the end of the world.
See if Nystrom can find us 6 cards. Nice 6 cards that he likes. Again, 8th seed onto the finals. Beat Combo Elves in the quarterfinals. Rug Delver in the semis. We'll see if he can beat Rug Delver one more time to hoist that trophy. One more card coming. You see a Sarah Avenger among them. We're good to go here in the finals. Gitaxian Probe. Let's see what he kept.
Gitaxian Probe is also great for coverage. Maybe subconsciously that's a way that I've encouraged this, a reason I've encouraged this card so much. Just put the hand on the table so we know what's going on.
As a result, you probably like Thoughtseize a lot too, then, don't you?
No, yeah, less so.
Interesting.
I just want to know. I want people
a hole in that theory.
Well, I want people to play their stuff.
2 Stoneforge Mystic, a Sarah Avenger, and a Phyrexian Revoker, along with 2 planes. Pretty good hand.
Yep. Stoneforge Mystic is an easy path to victory if Craig can't handle it. Not that there's a guarantee of that, but there's a chance.
And there's a Delver Secrets. Really good start here from Bargo. Kept 7. Probe, see what he's up against. Move forward accordingly. Just to planes from Nystrom, passing the turn back. Picked up a Revoker for the turn.
And Craig getting paid out here for having a couple copies of Spell Snare in his deck. You don't always see this card, but gets the opponent with a lot of 2-mana spells in their hand.
Really good in this matchup.
Yeah.
Jeez. Delver just for 1. An honest Delver. There's a Trop.
A Delver in training.
This is an Mongoose. Just going to pass the turn back over to Nystrom. Picks up a copy of Aven Mind Sensor. Going to try to resolve a Stoneforge Mystic. Let's see if this works. It doesn't. There's a Spell Snare.
And here's Rug Delver doing its thing.
Will it flip? Oh, yeah. There's a Daze. This is definitely Rug Delver doing its thing. In for 4 we go from Bargo. Can drop down a Tarmogoyf here. Have Force of Will with Daze.
Wow. What a start.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one, isn't it? Tarmogoyf, look right now. You got Sorcery and a creature in the bin. No land yet, but it won't take long for that. That's Sorcery instant, too. Spell Snare. Jeez. Horizon Canopy shows up to the party. That's a painful one, though.
Yep. And Pear doesn't really have anything to do with the extra mana this turn unless he wants to cast even Mind Sensor, which isn't that potent of a spell in this board state.
Gonna try to play around Daze, but yeah, we're gonna see a Force. We'll take care of that. Get that weak stuff right out of here. Bargo is just tempoing his way through this game. Tarmogoyf's not gonna grow any larger, but doesn't really need to. Bargo gonna untap here, take a draw. Has a Wasteland to take care of the Horizon Canopy if he'd like. Gonna start. Looks like probably casting Conjure. Yeah, sure. There's a Ponder.
The draw wasn't quite perfect, so.
Yep. Misty, Brainstorm, and a Scalding Tarn. I'd be hard pressed to put this away.
Well, you're looking at essentially 1 extra random card by keeping here.
Yeah, he can just keep the Brainstorm and just not do anything with it for a little while.
I guess.
I mean, he's so far ahead right now. Brainstorm just serves to be kind of like a crack in case of emergency to me in this situation. And it looks like he made a shuffle. He puts them all back because it is a Ponder, not a Brainstorm. So, yep, okay. Gonna fire off a Wasteland, get rid of the Horizon Canopy.
Yeah, I guess all other things being equal, just being able to keep spells here is pretty valuable to try to get to Threshold.
Oh yeah, sure. He can just get to Threshold here now too. That's the big part. You see a Lightning Bolt. So he doesn't even have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He doesn't have to go to Threshold here. He wants to make sure he has everything set up the way that he wants it. And it's a Brainstorm, so he actually gets to keep one of the cards. He put 3 back, so maybe thinking it was a Ponder, but pretty easy thing to fix.
I would imagine that he wants to keep a fetch land and a Lightning Bolt from this spot.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, he just kind of resolved it like it was a Ponder, but we're pretty clear on what's going on here.
Yeah.
He put 3 cards back and set it to he's supposed to keep 1. He just keeps a Scalding Tarn, sacrifices that. Gets a Volcanic on and moves himself to the Threshold. Scalding Tarn's going to be the last card. Obviously a little bit late in the day. 11:09 here on the East Coast. But attack going to put Nystrom down to 5, and now he's going to concede the game knowing that he is very dead. Craig Bargo going to win game number 1 here over Pear Nystrom. Pear doesn't really feel like he got to play Magic that game, and really he didn't.
No, and that's what Rug Delver does at its best, is get out in front and then never let you catch back up. Yeah. And there was nothing wrong with Pear's hand. I mean,
no, not at all.
I think maybe if he has Source of Plowshares, maybe he can keep up that game in his opening hand, but he had 2 copies of Stoneforge Mystic, other stuff to do, but that just wasn't cutting it against a draw that good.
Sometimes that's just what Rug Delver does. That's just how it works. Trivia time, 12 months. You've got the rules. I got the question.
Cedric's going to ask you a question. Tweet your answer at SCG Live, hashtag SCG Premium. Of the correct responses, 1 will be selected at random to receive a full year of Star City Games premium content. It is about accuracy, not speed, so don't worry about submitting first. Just submit the correct answer. And Twitch TV is not affiliated with any streams or any giveaways on their stream that aren't officially sanctioned by them. This is run at the full discretion at starcitygames.com.
You ready? What would I normally ask?
Where are we going to be next week?
Wrong. We're in Knoxville. We're in Knoxville. I was going to say Knoxville. We're in Knoxville. The following week, there's a pro tour in Atlanta. We're not going to be doing a show. We got the week off. The question is why? What event is Star City Games holding in 2 weeks?
Oh, this is kind of a tougher one. This is
Right.
kind of, and this is not where's the pro tour, nothing like that. Star City Games is running a large countrywide event that weekend. Name that event.
And if you can, hashtag SCG Premium for your answer. We'll announce the winner to the conclusion of the finals match. And if things go the way Bargo wants it to go, it'll be about 3 or 4 minutes from now.
Yeah, I mean, that's how he wants to do it, right?
Yeah, it's not going to take very long at all. So we're going to take a look at the sideboards now here, head back down to the match. Nystrom's side, you see all the cards, the cage, the needle, the bomb, 2 Canonist, 1 Mirror and Crusader, 2 copies of Whitley Fleet, 2 Oblivion Ring, 2 Rest in Peace, and Armageddon, or Cataclysm, and the Sunlands. What do you like, my friend?
I do like the 2 copies of Rest in Peace. Rug Delver isn't an explicitly graveyard-centric deck like Reanimator, but it does lean on its graveyard quite a bit with Nibble Mongoose and Tarmogoyf. I think that the copy of Ratchet Bomb is also going to come in here as it's a way to blow up a flipped Insectile Aberration. And also, Paris deck just has more expensive permanents. Craig's all saturated at 0, 1s, and 2s.
Other side, you've got 2 Gravlava Mantras, Assault Elemental, and Ancient Grudge. Dismember, Flusterstorm, Frozen Grip, Red Elemental Blast, 2 Spell Pierce, 2 Surgicals of Vendilion, and 2 copies of Rough and Tumble. What do you see there?
Some really powerful sideboard options here. I think you're going to see the copies of Rough Tumble. I think you're going to see Grim Lavamancers come in. The Sulfur Elemental is a potential huge haymaker here, and the Dismember as well. Even though paying 4 life isn't ideal, Pair's deck is more about building up a board presence rather than trying to bum rush you necessarily. So I would gladly pay a mana and 4 life to kill a lot of his most meaningful threats, like Mother of Runes and like Stoneforge Mystic.
You still like Nystrom here?
Well, no, not that he's down a game. I mean, winning 2 games in a row is just very tough. Got to win one on the draw too.
Definitely difficult. You're gonna have to interact a little bit earlier next game. Some saying that you gotta keep at least a 1 mana spell, be it Mother of Runes, Vial, Swords, something that costs 1 mana.
Yeah, especially when you're on the draw. Now, it's really hard to throw back the hand that Pair kept there. I mean, it's 2 copies of Stoneforge Mystic and other stuff to do, but it does feel like it's really important for him to have some form of interaction or something proactive on the first turn of the game.
I don't know. I think Nystrom's got probably a good chance to even up. He seems like he just beat Rug Delver last round. Seems like he's probably comfortable in the matchup, knows what he's trying to accomplish, just didn't really get to interact that game. I mean, Bargo's draw was just absurd.
Yeah. This feels like, home court or home field advantage in professional sports. As long as there isn't a huge gap in the matchup, I usually just err on the side of the team that's at home, being on the play, very similar to that. There has to be a pretty large matchup advantage for me to be predicting the person who's on the draw to win any individual game. Now that said, we do see our 7th and 8th seeds here in the finals, so throwing that theory for a bit for a loop.
Two games. Gotta win 2.
Yeah, winning's too tough against Rug
winning 2
Delver.
is tough. For how good that deck is. It's still just kind of surprising to me that in Season 1 mostly, and for a part of Season 2, just the narrative was so much about Bug Delver and how big that deck was. And it seemed like, okay, at the beginning of the year it was blue, white, red. And then we moved on to Bug, and now we're moved back to Rug. It almost seems like it's cyclical in nature.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, I mean, the initial blue, white, red Delver lists, I think, were the first ones to really incorporate True Name Nemesis in a powerful fashion, and people were a little slow on the uptake to work around that card. Now you see a lot more Golgari Charms in people's sideboards, more Liliana the Veils in the main deck, more Engineer Plagues and so forth. People are just prepared for that card. And if the major incentive for Blue White Red Delver is it's the most powerful Delver deck that gets to play with True Name Nemesis, that's becoming less and less attractive as people have incorporated more answers in their deck to that card. And also True Name Nemesis is just not a very effective tool against the powerful decks, the combo decks of Legacy.
Yeah, that's true.
And cutting down on your Vendilion clicks to make room for True Name Nemesis is really damaging in your Sneak and Show and Reanimator and Storm matchups. Not necessarily that True Name Nemesis comes at the expense of Vendilion click or vice versa, but you can only afford so many 3s, and that's usually the swap that ends up getting made.
Things certainly get more difficult for Nystrom after sideboard, though. There is that. The Dismember, the Rough and Tumbles. other options. Grim Lavamancer, obviously, Sulfur Elemental. It does get more difficult. And the nice thing is he's got the information to work with, but it doesn't make it any easier.
Yeah, it feels like he makes some sideways upgrades here, but Craig's bringing in some real haymakers. Grim Lavamancer is awesome. There's some spots where Sulfur Elemental is just going to be game over. So I think Craig gets a bigger edge here post-board than Pear does, although I think the matchup naturally favors Death and Taxes a little bit over Rug Delver. Still, Pear's got his work cut out for him. And the card I'm surprised to see not in Death and Taxes sideboards here is Path to Exile. Feels like that would give a lot of action against these kind of rug and bug strategies, especially ones that are sideboarding in annoying utility creatures.
Yeah.
I've seen Maverick lists, the one in Detroit that made the top 4, had a couple Path to Exiles to bring in, and that was very helpful against rug. But these Death and Taxes decks usually stay away from it. And I think having a couple copies in the sideboard would improve matchups like this quite a bit. Because they almost never have a basic land to go find.
Yeah, they never do. You can basically assume they just don't have one. Sometimes we'll see a version, like with Rug especially, where they have like a Taiga. That'll happen sometimes. Yeah. But definitely not a basic.
Right. And even those stray dual lands I think are pretty poor.
Yeah, me too. All right, game number 2. Let's take a look at you. Pear Nystrom will be on the play here against Craig Bargo.
I think some cards accidentally might have gotten flipped up while Craig was shuffling Pear's deck, so Pear's just going to give another reshuffle before he presents.
Yeah. Before we are good to go here. If you guys do want to go back and read this match, you do see Nick Miller there with his laptop, getting the written coverage ready. These two players. Game 1, probably a short recap.
Yes.
Yeah. A real beatdown.
Pear didn't get to do anything. Craig 1-0.
Looks like Nystrom is happy with his hand. Bargo is not. Down to 6 he goes. Got to deck the mulligans quite well, though.
Yeah. Although, not so much against Death and Taxes because they're a little more robust to some of your game plans. You know, it's harder to tempo them out of the game, especially when you're on the play. Or they're on the play, rather. And they can trade resources with you. They can block your creatures. They have Source of Plowshares, so. It's not like playing against Reanimator where the games aren't really about trading resources so much as preventing someone from doing their powerful linear action. And keep in mind, the Death and Taxes deck, we talk about Rug Delver all the time and its mana denial element. Death and Taxes has that too. They have Wastelands and Rashadan ports. And Rug Delver's pretty mana light all told, so that element could come up as well, especially with Pear on the play and Craig taking a mulligan.
Yeah, could get the port wasteland action going with a vial. We've seen Death and Taxes do that many times before. 6 cards here for Bargo. Does he like what he sees? He does. Let's do it. That's an important one.
And that's the start.
Yeah. Aether Vial does resolve. No Force Will here for Bargo.
Not only does this allow Parasite to run at a higher efficiency, but a lot of Craig's counterspells have just gone down dramatically in value for the remainder of the game.
Maybe it's time to go pondering. It is. You got to be thrilled if you're Nystrom now.
Yeah, especially with that Wasteland in hand.
Mm-hmm.
Rest in peace. I mean, what a hand. This may be a reverse version of what happened in Game 1, where Craig just isn't really allowed to function.
Horizon can be the draw. Wasteland gonna fire away right now, of course. Get that thing out of here. And kick it back. Brainstorm the draw here for Bargo. Does he have a land? Looks like he's got a couple.
Yeah, he's not gonna lose exactly that way.
Mm-hmm. I think maybe he's just making a decision now.
Well, he may need to cantrip to just set up a more durable hand, but he also just can't sit here all day against the Aether Vial, so.
I'm just going to pass the turn back. Does have a Lightning Bolt already. Vial going to take up to 2. That's a sweet spot for this deck. Caesar Avenger. Nystrom going to play. Looks like a Plains will be the weapon of choice. before passing the turn back here over to Bargo, who will take a draw.
Again, no rush for Para here to do anything on his main phase. He can just let Aether Vial do its thing, play around all the counter spells, and really contort Craig's play.
Bargo thought about sacrificing his Scalding Tarn there. Maybe just fetch out a land before drawing, but let's just take a draw. Picks up a Tropical Island. This will allow him to cast a Delver of Secrets. And that'll be coming into play in just a moment. There it is. And now Nystrom's going to vial something in. Is it Avenger? Or is it Stoneforge? It's Stoneforge. Trigger. Good to go.
All right, so no Stifle there.
See if it's going to be Batterskull or something else.
I mean, Batterskull's really presupposing the Stoneforge Mist is going to live. With the creatures in Para's hand, it feels like there's a pretty large incentive to go get Umezawa's Jitte here.
Gonna go with the living weapon. Hard to argue. Bark gonna sacrifice that Scalding Tarn, go get a Volcanic immediately. Probably gonna see him fire off here with a Lightning Bolt. Doesn't want that Batterskull to get in play. Pretty hard to beat. There's that bolt.
So now I'll see if Para has some other way to get this Batterskull into play down the line.
Remember, this is all at the end of Bargo's turn here, so shields are down in many ways. There's a port. Not a bad draw. See if he wants to put that in play. He will. Gonna land Rest in Peace now.
This is a good spot. Not good immediately here, as there's no Tarmogoyf for no Nimble-Mongoose to play, but it does restrict a lot of Craig's actions going forward.
Graveyards are gone. Bargo gonna untap, gonna check for Delver here. Looks like he's gonna try to set it up here with Brainstorm. Wants to make sure that it flips. So 3 cards coming. You see a Ponder. Looks like a Crozing Grip and a Scalding Tarn.
So he is gonna definitely be able to get this Delver to flip here.
Let's see, card he wants to show up. Ponder. Take that to the grip. See, Nystrom's gonna write that down just to make sure that he knows. And in for 3 we go. I like this. Pretty aggressive, actually. Like,
Here.
really wants to trade.
Yeah. He's got Batterskull in hand and Rashad in port. It's a lot of inevitability.
Oh, gonna stifle that.
Wow.
No trade allowed. Thank you for Nystrom. You gotta be thrilled with that.
Yeah, that's a very aggressive. I mean, especially you have this Batterskull maybe looming in a couple turns.
This is an exchange you really want to make.
With Parrot at 20, this just seems so aggressive to me.
Yeah. Parrot gonna leave it at 2. Take a draw. Picks up a Thalia. It's a good one to play.
Well, yes and no. I mean, Thalia is very good against Rogue Delver, but it just depends how much Para is really interested in trying to hardcast his Batterskull.
Sure. You can see a turn here where he just plays Thalia, uses port, really constricts the mana.
Yeah,
that
he's got 2 different lines to take here.
Yep. And also the big thing here is by casting Thalia, it's a real giveaway here that you've got something to do with the vial.
Well, that was already, I think that was given away last combat there.
Yeah. I mean, the interesting thing here is, though, you know, he could have vialed in Thalia and then just hardcast Sarah Avenger.
I think he just wants to block.
What do you mean?
Well, if he hardcasts the Sarah Avenger, then it gets countered, potentially. Oh,
No.
you mean, vialing first.
Vialing first,
Right,
yeah,
gotcha.
for Thalia, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, if he's okay with this getting Spellstorm, that's fine. Because there are other cards that he would obviously like to resolve that cost you mana in this deck.
Yeah, it's true.
Gonna untap and pass it. Port, gonna go after the red source. That's good to go. See the grip here. Ponder, along with the grip. Gonna take a draw.
Doesn't want to spend his whole turn using Cruising and Grip right now, it appears.
Yeah, grip is pretty much reserved. Lightning Bolt. Grip is pretty much reserved for the Batter Skull. Bargo may not attack this time. Hard to blame him, honestly. Looks like we might go Pondering to start. Yeah. Start there. See if you can find a red source for the Bolt. There's a fetch land. 2 Ponders, too. Pretty good.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to shuffle those Ponders away, though.
Nah. Too important.
Got to keep the juices flowing.
Mm-hmm. That Crow's and Goose going to be working overtime, though. All right, going to leave him. Going to take a draw. Picks up the fetch land. Going to play it. Going to attack. Vile. Will he sacrifice the fetch land? He'd have to get rid of 2 Ponders.
Well, I think Craig may have picked his path here. I mean, the really aggressive use of the Stifle last turn. I think, quite frankly, he's planning on bolting here, using Crozan and Grip on Batter Skull, and hoping that this Insectile Aberration plus whatever he draws for the remainder of the game is enough to carry the day.
We're just down this road?
Yep.
Well, then down this road we go. There is the volcanic island. We're going to find out pretty quickly if this is better or worse than the 2 Ponders. You see Pair knows that's going to get bolted. There that goes. Crows and Grip. Last card here for Bargo. And the Insectile Aberration. And try to run wild over this game. All right, Pair. Leave that Violet too? Yes, he does. Doesn't even think about it. Flicker Wisp with the draw. Could slam down Batter Skull here. Kind of scary to run that in the face of a Daze, though.
You can also cast Flicker Wisp and reset the Insectile Aberration.
Also true. Yep, that's what he's going to do. That'll flip. You give Nystrom a little bit of info, too.
Yeah.
With the card that's drawn. So that's going to come back. We'll check for Delver now. As a Stifle. Not the worst.
But now, the way that Craig has played this game, he almost can't afford to trade this Insectile Aberration for anything.
Agreed.
Pair's at 14 life, so this is now big trouble, I feel, for Craig.
Pair's also established, that all he wants to do is trade.
Yeah.
That's actually it.
Well, he's so far ahead on total resources, and so many of Craig's draws are poor from here. I mean, keep in mind that Tarmogoyf and Nimble Mongoose aren't even productive draws. So Pair can be really patient. And now is Mother of Runes, and now this is another door that's getting closed here for Craig. If this Mother of Runes gets on tap, yes, Craig does have access to Stifle. He can stop 1 activation, but this is just going further and further down the path of his draws are just losing a lot of value. It's unclear how he's going to proceed from here. He almost now needs to trade his Insectile Aberration for the Flicker Wisp, because once Mother Runes plus Flicker Wisp is in play, that Insectile Aberration isn't worth anything. You see here, end of turn, Crozan Grip going to take care of the rest in peace.
Wants to turn his graveyard back on.
Yes.
Gonna go porting here. This is exactly how Nystrom wants these games to go now, though. Sitting at a high life total 14, not getting run down like it was the last game. Another Delver of Secrets here for Bargo. But Mother of Runes has shown up, and if it doesn't die right away, it's trouble.
But now, if Craig wasn't willing to trade last turn, he should be willing to trade now, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Because you may have an uncontested Insectile Aberration. That could happen.
Yep, here we go. Yeah, and Bargo knows I can cheat in 3 points of damage here, essentially.
Well, I actually wasn't positive about that because we know about the Stifle in Craig's hand. So he gets to Stifle a Mother of Runes activation on a Flicker Wisp in the event that it ever blocks. So that might not have been a terrible spot to just trade there anyway.
Gonna drop down the Batter Skull. Living Weapon trigger and a Stifle there. So now the Flicker Wisp is the ultimate on D with in combination with Mother of Runes.
Yep.
Checking, missing, drawing.
And now I think the door is shut.
Lavamancer. It's not the worst draw. Not great, but not the worst. Problem here is that looks like somebody's going to be holding a Batter Skull in a minute.
Well, there's a couple problems here. Also, Craig doesn't have much of a graveyard to work with because
of
so much of it got destroyed through recipes.
Yep.
And of course, the Batter Skull on the Flicker Wisp is quite a problem as well. But I like this, actually, Craig taking an alternate path here. He's going to go with Umazawa's Jitte. That way he can dispatch of the one-toughness creatures, including the Grim Lavamancer, and then just equip Batter Skull the next turn. So this path seems better to me. So we're going to see combat damage resolve here momentarily. I think I would be surprised if Craig ran a block, because then he loses everything. And yep, he's going to clear out the one-toughness creatures.
Pretty hard not to.
And now Craig really up against it. I don't even know how he's supposed to proceed from here. He's contemplating whether or not he wants to cast the Mother Runes. This is relevant, of course, because he falls to 9. And multiples of 3 are significant against Delver.
Yeah, I still think he'll be okay doing it. I mean, I can see an argument for both sides.
I'm fine with him just erring on the side of caution. He only needs to get through one more turn, and then the game's over.
Yeah. This is how he would like the games to go.
Yep.
Quite obviously.
So we'll see what's causing the delay here momentarily.
Nope, good to go. Maybe Bargo just thinking about his outs.
Yeah. I mean, he's empty-handed with no triggers. So.
Yeah. Maybe
you can draw the card and then figure out if you got any outs.
Come to the realization that he's on an offer. In for 3 we go. Sulfur Elemental any good here? Actually, Sulfur Elemental's pretty good.
It's not bad. It's actually much better than pretty good.
Yeah, it's actually really good if he drew it. That's not the case. Split second +1/-1 would have killed both creatures.
Yeah. And then maybe the Insight Aberration just takes the day.
Yeah. Would have been an insane way to steal the game.
Yep. Now I think it's much harder.
One could argue.
Pear just trying to be very careful here. Not get himself killed by anything unexpected. There's the post-combat Batter Skull. Most likely wanting to not get blown out by Sulfur Elemental, wanting to have some different play there in the event that Craig drew it. It's really Craig's only hope of winning the game that turn, so even though that looks a little bizarre, I understand the logic. If he lost his whole board here and lost his turn equipping Batter Skull, he would just die. So this is a more conservative approach. So now the door may be shut for forever for Craig here. Even Sulfur Elemental won't provide too much help. It still clears out everything because Pear can't respawn because of split second, but if Pear has any sort of follow-up left over in his hand, he can trade and life goes on. So now
there's a Brainstorm. Finds a Goyf. Gataxian Probe.
Good timing.
Probe! Get some info. No? That's not what you want to do?
I think that ship may have sailed.
I think. All right, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I'm not one to argue, especially this late at night.
Yeah. So, I mean, Craig can go ahead, take the fetch land, shuffle, alternate cast the Gataxian Probe, or actually just hard cast it. Hope to find Sulfur Elemental this turn.
Yeah, that's. Well, Batter Skull doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, that ship has sailed. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a no-outer. I'm not sure. It's pretty close to that.
I mean, is there any removal left in the deck for Batter Skull?
He's already used the grip.
He has an Ancient Grudge if he brought in that, I suppose. But
You got to believe he brought it in.
yeah, Ancient Grudge allows him to destroy both pieces of equipment.
That would be wow. He would lose his Delver, obviously, but because the GTA would probably just finish it off. But that'd be really good. Jeez.
It returns on Sulfur Elemental the following turn.
This is a series of events that would have to go right for Bargo.
Oh yeah.
It would really take something. Yeah, and he decides, okay, enough is enough.
Yeah, he can't keep everything, so.
Yeah. Gonna concede that game. Pure Nystrom gonna win game number 2. And, I figured there'd be 3 games.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Gotta be. Gotta be.
But Craig will be on the play, of course.
Yep. And we saw what happened. He was on the play last time. Yikes.
Although that was something of an exceptional draw. And a pretty poor one for pair, so.
Yeah.
Do you think anything changes here?
Not really. I think it's interesting, right? Both games went exactly according to plan, I think, for both players. Game 1, Craig just, kicked the doors down. And on the other side, Pear had a really grindy game. The one thing I liked about Pear's game in game number 2 is it's very clear that he wants to trade with Delver very fast. Doesn't want to take any extra damage.
Yeah. Because it's not hard for him to lock up the ground.
Yep.
It's the air where he's a little bit soft.
He was very willing to trade a Sarah Avenger at any point with that Delver of Secrets that flipped. And we saw Bargo aggressively use Stifle to stop it once and tried to stop it again unsuccessfully. And Delver actually ends up getting traded with all that stuff. So that looks like the plan.
And you can see why, Pear was definitely more than easily able to overpower him once he kind of got his shop set up.
Yeah.
It's just the early turns and the flyers where it's harrowing. So anything he can do to shore that up, I think he's gonna jump on top of.
It's very clear who the control deck is here.
Yes.
Bargo wants to take this aggressive approach. He can be comfortable making it to the mid-game. If we make it to the late game, it's probably a game that Pear is winning, but Bargo still has outs in the late game.
Right.
Bolts, Grudge, Crows and Grip, things like that. Sulfur Elemental.
Elemental especially.
He still leaves himself with live draws, which is important. See Bargo re-sideboarding a little bit here.
Sulfur Elemental is sort of a bizarre design, but does enough random things in Legacy to show up. Very good against Death and Taxes, the occasional Lingering Souls deck you run into.
Only being piloted by Sheen Cerrone. He's the only Lingering Souls holdout now.
That's not true. We had
even he gave up.
We had Dead Guy Ale on camera today, casting Lingering Souls against the counterbalance opponent.
You're right about that. That did happen.
It was not very good in the game in question, but it was cast today.
It was even flashback, I think.
Yes, and then they were all killed, or Jace was involved. Oh, and Treat showed up, I think.
Yeah, Terminus.
Yes.
Some other fun miracle cards.
Someone spent 3 mana to make a couple 1/1 flyers, and then someone else spent 5 mana to make a couple 4/4 flyers. And then the 4/4s were bigger than the 1/1s. And
that seems backwards.
So it goes.
That's a very strange interaction.
It seems unfair almost.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it only works if you draw the card at a certain time.
Right. It has to be like a specific time. If you draw it in your opening hand, then
no.
What are you supposed to do?
Yeah, you're just stuck with it there.
You're just stuck with it
there. There's no way to put it back.
Yeah.
It's really too bad.
I mean, you can hard cast it. It's not the end of the world. But
that's true. Bargo gonna finish sideboarding here and get ready for a third and final game between him and Nystrom. Death and Taxes Rug Delver. Again, Rug Delver gonna be on the play here for our final game in Cincinnati. Don't forget, next weekend, Knoxville. I'm excited. Evan Irwin, slinging spells.
Yeah, it'll be exciting.
Don't know. We know a couple people are gonna be there. Evan Irwin, Joe Lissette. Got to imagine Chris Vadmeter. Got to imagine Eric Rill.
I would imagine the whole SCG crew is going to be there. I mean, maybe Pro Tour testing
Some
interferes.
testing for the Pro Tour.
Right.
Some
that
testing
makes
for the
sense.
Pro Tour, yeah. But we'll see who's going to come out in attendance. No Jerry T just yet.
Yeah, he has to surf his hiatus.
Yeah, he's in hiding in Seattle. And
Brewing.
And by
Waiting.
the last thing I'd want to do is play against him in the first tournament that he's coming back for. He's going to be ready.
Yeah. The policy that Wizard has is there's some amount of delay from the, if you worked on a particular set, there's some time after that set becomes street legal where you're not allowed to play in sanctioned tournaments.
I think it's 30 days.
Yeah.
So you can only imagine Jerry just going to be scribbling away in the notebook, playing Magic Online, just getting ready, and then just going to pounce on an open series or a PTQ or something. It's going to be pretty sweet.
Because I bet that guy is just waiting to unleash hell on people. If Jerry T is anything like the Jerry T I remember, he is chomping at the bit, waiting to get back in there.
6-month hiatus, huh? Yeah, we'll see about that. Give me my trophy, thank you.
And in the meantime, I'm sure he's going to be happy just building decks and, writing articles and contributing that way for sure.
Yeah, it's good to have him back. It is good to have him back. It's going to be fun covering his matches again. And also just see what kind of deck building is going to take place. He said he does not like the way that the Revelation decks are built right now. I like to see the way that he's going to build the Revelation decks then.
Yes, same.
All right, Craig Bargo, do you like your 7? He went to reach in. It's the bluff reach. You ever do that? Act like you're going to mulligan, you just have the best hand in the world.
No. No, I've not. Some amateur hour stuff.
I call that the Josh Rabbits. There's a Grim Lavamancer.
Yeah, I don't think he was planning on mulliganing this hand.
No, probably not.
Come on now.
This hand sucks. Turn 1, unbeatable card. Mother of Runes, the first draw here for Nystrom. Uh-oh. Actually, it was important to... Okay, a file. If it resolves. It does again. Wow, okay.
They both have their draws, and, it wouldn't surprise me if Craig's removed nearly all of his counter spells in this matchup.
And for 1 comes the Lavamancer. Gonna sacrifice Misty Rainforest, probably go get a Tropical Island. See who wants to go play on turn number 2.
I imagine this will be Tarmogoyf. So, both players with their good openings thus far.
Can't complain. Got to be happy on both sides.
Yep.
Again, Nystrom's the control deck. He's under the gun right now, obviously. He's got some stabilizing to do. Vial ticks up to 1. There's a Horizon Canopy. You see the rest in peace. That's important.
If that resolves, I mean, Craig's draw goes from a 10 out of 10 to a 0 out of 10.
Yeah. Well, we're going for it. Right in the face of Days. You got it, you got it.
Well, he didn't have Vial.
That's
he didn't have
true.
Days for Vial.
Yeah,
so.
that's true. There goes the bin. Lavamancer, you stink.
And this-
Tarmogoyf, you're worse.
And this game just got a lot harder for Craig.
Picked up a bolt.
It almost feels like he has to find his one Crozan grip before he can really even proceed with the game at all.
There's Tarn. This is a Brainstorm. Hit 1, hit 2, and 3. Wasteland, Volcanic, and a Pondere.
Yeah, I mean, his hand now has a lot of lands, but also things like the second Lavamancer, which isn't worth very much, so.
I almost just want to put the second Lavamancer away, but there's a lot of garbage here.
Yeah.
Good thing Brainstorm's so good. Clear this up.
Well, the problem is that he doesn't have a lot of things that are powerful to brainstorm into.
Well, he's got to do his best to find that grip, right?
Yep.
That's step 1 of many. But finding a grip changes a lot of things, so.
Delver of Secrets has a lot of work here, too, potentially.
Can't forget about Sulfur Elemental as well.
Yep.
Bargo going to search for a trop.
So there's a lot of cantrips. He has a lot of looks at these cards. But I think his ponders are going to be very polarized now. They're going to be pretty easy yes-no questions. Because so much of his cards are non-functional.
Mm-hmm. Gonna ponder here, it looks like, with the red mana available, because he does have a lightning bolt as well as a lavamancer. You see Days, Rough Tumble, and a Delver of Secrets. Not bad.
Well, this is not bad. I mean, this is of the non-Crozan grip, involving ponders. This is one of the more powerful ones you can find.
Yeah.
Rough Tumble is likely to be good somewhere down the line, and Delver of Secrets is one of the basically his only live threat remaining.
Doing a lot of manipulation, but this manipulating really does kind of set the course for how the next couple of turns are going to go. That's why Bargo's giving this a hard, long look. Again, Grim Lavamancer, Bolt, Wasteland, and Grip. Taking a look at Delver, Daze, and Rough Tumble with the Ponder.
And can you really afford to proceed so many turns knowing that Crozan Grip's not in the cards?
Yeah, knowing that those are going to be your next couple of draws, too. How good is Daze moving forward when there's an Aether Vial out there? Not great. It might get something, but at the same time, you got to believe that Pear is probably going to play around Daze as best he can.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Rough Tumble it's fine. It's okay.
Well, it's unclear how good it's going to be right now.
Mm-hmm.
Could be very good, may not do anything at all.
Other thing is to keep in mind, too, is that, there's that Rashad port hanging out there. Can cut some red mana.
Yep.
There's a Wasteland over in Bargo's hand, but, could cut some red mana in the short term. It looks like he's going to keep. All right, comes to the decision. Draws Daze. Interesting. Coming across for 1, Nystrom, down to 18. So a really long turn there for Bargo with manipulation, but it looks like he's at the mercy of his draws now.
Yep.
Gonna activate Aether Vial. Any stifles to be had? The answer is no. Mother of Runes is going to likely get lightning bolted, however. Can't let him untap with that.
Nope.
Simply too good. And again, that's a thing where if you're Nystrom, you're not upset. It's just like, okay, your bolt takes care of that. I've got a Stoneforge Mystic. But if you don't bolt that, your life is really difficult.
He's just trying to run him out.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to run him out of things that he can do.
And Nystrom draws a Wasteland, so he can actually take care of the red source of mana.
Yeah, and I think we might shift into some sort of mana denial phase here. You can Wasteland and port, Violent, Stoneforge Mystic, and maybe take a commanding position in the game.
See what Pear wants to do on this turn. Decisions. He's going to start by vialing. Going to go get a yeah, we're on probably a pretty nice mana now plan now.
Yeah. And again, he can afford to do all of this because Rest in Peace is rendering Craig's Draw inoperative.
There's your waste. Yeah.
Yeah. He's saying you can't.
Curious what the confusion is here. Probably asking a judge a question. We'll find out for you guys.
Yeah. I mean, Valley's not a spell on the stack when it's coming through the Aether Vial.
Yeah.
It's just, it activates, does a resolve, put your thing into play, now that thing's in play.
Yep. And to be fair, he can't even have a response.
Yeah, it's
Like looking at Craig's hand.
All right.
Yeah. Just making sure everything's clear here, it looks like. Yeah, so that's going to bite the dust.
Yeah.
Could just hardcast Stoneforge here, but I'd rather just go porting, I think.
Yeah, there is some risk. You could get dazed here and...
Actually, can't get dazed. Because value.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. I still just kind of like going porting, but at the same time, you could just cast Mom. Just another option. Just gonna play it safe. Just pass the turn back.
Yeah.
Go porting.
Yeah, I like this sequence.
Again, he's a control deck. He can just grind him to a halt. Picked up a Delver for the turn, did Bargo. It's annoying more than anything, I think, if you're Nystrom. There's a Wasteland. Yep. Gonna shoot down Karakas. Cut that white mana.
It's, you know, I can understand the appeal trying to get rid of the Rashad import here, but it does give Craig some glimmer of hope if Pear does not have white mana.
Fortunately for Craig, Pear has a Rising Canopy in his hand, but that does deal damage, so there is that aspect of it. You see Bargo's last 2 cards, Grim Lavamancer and a Daze. Tarmogoyf's an 0-1. Grim Lavamancer just a Borgold 1-1 in the face of a Thalia. Nystrom going to leave that Thalia too, as he's done over the course of this tournament. Picks up a Plains for his draw step. Again, Mother of Runes, Stoneforge Mystic, Horizon Canopy, and a Plains over here for the Death and Taxes player.
So just trying to make sure that nothing... I mean, Pear can sense right now that he's got a really commanding board. It's just make sure nothing sloppy happens.
Pretty much. Able to attack here for 2. No good blocks here for Bargo. 2 on first striker. No, we're really good to go.
Are we considering jump blocking while we're at 17?
Seems a little bit aggressive. Don't think that'll be the case. Wow.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty surprised by that.
Never mind me.
Yeah. I'm a little surprised by that. We'll see if that ends up, you know, coming back to hurt him at all or not. Corrosion Grip is a card he can play to. There's Rough Tumble. I guess the thought process here is, you know, my Tarmogoyf is going to die to Rough Tumble anyway.
Oh.
Because of Rest in Peace.
Sure.
So it's fine.
That is totally legit.
In we go. Grim Lavamancer able to come in here for free. 4 points of damage dealt. Just got to get rid of that flyer. That's all. Again, Bargo, no red mana.
But now it looks like Mother of Runes is likely to untap here.
Yep.
And now we have Stoneforge. And I believe this is likely to beget Battered Skull.
Cheetah's attractive too. Truthfully, both are attractive.
Yeah. I think, you know, he can't kill the Stoneforge Mystic for a number of reasons. No red mana and Mother of Runes is active.
Mm-hmm.
And you know he has Rough Tumble, so this is, you know, you're still worried a little bit about Sulfur Elemental. Just having a stable threat in play, I think, is what the situation calls for.
That's why I wanted to go get the Battered Skull. There you do see Rough Tumble, the wonky Pyroclasm. 2 damage to each creature without flying, so it doesn't kill insect calibration when it's flipped. And then Tumble, well, that's not even a card. That's just not going to happen.
No.
Though I would like to hear stories of someone playing Rogue Delver who did cast Tumble and it was good. That would be fun.
Yes. But I mean, they only have 10 lands in the deck that make mana.
I don't know how they got to 6. I have no idea. And I don't know what they need to deal 6 damage to with flying. But again, it would be fun to hear. The fact that it is a Pyroclasm that oftentimes no Mongoose is a 3/3, deal 2 to that, doesn't die. Tarmogoyf always has more than 2 toughness. And then Delver of Secrets, when it flips, it flies. It's the perfect Pyroclasm. So it looks like a little bit of confusion that's going to get cleared up here yet again. But again, it is pretty late. These guys have been playing all day.
Yeah.
So we do attack here for 2. Bargo going to go down to 15. The walls are closing in now from the Death and Taxes side.
Yep.
Take a draw here. Spell Pierce picked up.
No help.
None at all. Not for the incoming Germ token, that's for sure. In for 3 we go. Nystrom's going to go down to 11. And in comes the Stoneforge Mystic activation. And a Battered Skull. Trigger that living weapon. Brian Braun to win. Going to join the party. He can never leave a tournament.
No. The last one to leave yet again.
Somehow, some way.
Another shot import. Oh boy.
Sunlance in the grip too.
Yeah.
In comes the Vigilance Creature, along with Athalia. This one's looking dire here for the Rug Delver player. And again, you felt that this matchup was pretty good for Death and Taxes.
It's always harrowing playing against Rug Delver. It's never going to be easy, but Pair has all the tools.
Gonna play a port, gonna Sunlance the Delver. Enough of this nonsense. 3 damage to target non-white creature. Looks like Craig a little taken aback by the fact that he tapped the mana, then played the Rashad import. A little, not quite sure why that would matter.
Yeah.
And targeting the Delver's
Yep.
Secrets. Yep, that's gonna die. The ability to pay for Spell Pierce and Daze there, obviously, because Daze would, Spell Pierce would cost 2. Because
Yes.
Thai is in play, pay for that, and then Daze, obviously, you can pay for the 1, but he can't do both. Because Daze is free, but it costs 1. So, Nystrom doing a nice job playing around Spell Pierce there. Using the port, taking 1 to do so.
And now Craig can't even cast the Ponder they drew, and now there's 2 ports in play.
Mhm.
So it is elementary from here.
There is no key to this lock. This is about as hard as it gets for Death and Taxes. As in we go, even, oh wow, Stoneforge Mystic, look at you.
Yeah.
Real tough guy.
Hanging out in the back there.
Yeah. Oh, look at this. Apparently, AJ Soccer has tumbled all 4 Squadron Hawks out of the sky.
Nice.
Out of Blue-Red Delver.
There
Of
it is.
course you have. That's going to do it. Para Nystrom is going to win this match in this tournament. 2 games to 1. Death and Taxes. D&T. Legacy Open champion here in Cincinnati. Congratulations. Really impressive stuff. Really, really impressive.
Again, just a lot of the right tools for the matchup there.
I mean, and you can
Stoneforge
tell.
Mystic, Mother of Runes.
You can tell that he has played this deck a lot.